All right, so it's time to talk about cover four quarters and palms and how the coverages actually work in this year's game. So we're going to start off with quarters, and then we'll talk about palms. I'm going to show you the differences. So we're going to try to do most of the explaining out of one formation so you guys can, I guess, understand it properly. So cover four quarters, and a couple things I want to mention before I even get into it is I wouldn't say this is super advanced. It's going to open up a new way of thinking for you guys. So if it's confusing, just let me know on Twitter at Ace Madden Tips. My DMs are always open. If you have any question regarding how one of these defenders should react to a certain route combo, I can answer that for you. So just hit me up. I'm going to put these guys in spies for now because I just want to show you how this all works. So by nature, trip sets give quarters coverage a little bit of fits, mainly because quarters is a balanced coverage, and having a trips on one side is not balanced. So by nature, the play that I've selected is going to beat quarters coverage, and I'm going to explain why. Now, technically, in real life, it shouldn't beat quarters coverage because this guy should be doing a better job, the 3-rec. But I'm going to explain every single zone on the field. So first of all, there's a misconception that cover 4 is, well, for years in Madden, it's been where all 4 guys drop deep, and it's almost like a prevent defense. Well, that's not the case. This is actually a man-match defense, and it works for the most part exactly how it should. There are certain route combos that can kind of glitch out certain guys, but for the most part, it does work as it should. So how does cover 4 quarters work? So let's talk about the secondary, or specifically our 2 outside corners and our 2 safeties. These are, I guess, the most important players on the field. So Casey Hayward, let me zoom out. He's our outside corner, and his responsibility is to read the receiver right in front of him. So in football terms, he's the number 1 receiver. The number 1 receiver. And then once you go one more receiver in, so number 13, Hunter Renfrow, is your number 2. And then right here we have our number 3. If you go to the other side of the field, this is your number 2. This is your number 1. So what's going to happen is out here, Casey Hayward is going to be reading Williams. He's the number 1. Is he going on a vertical route? What that means is in this game, they define that as anything past 7 yards. If this receiver goes anything past 7 yards, Casey Hayward is going to man up on him. That is his responsibility. On the back end, we have Derwin James, the safety with the X under him. He's in 2 read, which means he's going to be watching the number 2 receiver, and he is going to check for any kind of vertical route. If he's on a vertical route, he is going to take him. Going back to Casey Hayward for a second. We know right now Williams is on a hitch. That's not a vertical route. So what's going to happen is Casey Hayward is actually going to zone up. He's going to drop back in his zone, and he's going to look for work. So anything deep, like a corner route, he's going to basically get doubled because the safety with Derwin James is looking at number 2. Is he vertical? Yes. He's going to take number 2. Hayward, he's going to see that Williams is on a hitch. Therefore, he's going to drop back, and the corner route that Hunter Renfrow is on is going to get doubled. So let me get off of Hayward so you guys can see how it works. The safety is very late in coming over. In fact, this is really bad coverage, but I picked this play for a reason. What's supposed to happen is this guy needs to be more aware of the fact that number 1 is not on a vertical route, so therefore he has to take. But for some reason, this post route is kind of confusing him for a second, and he's not getting over to number 2 quickly enough. Lucky for us, it doesn't really matter because Renfrow is not on a post or something. If he was on a post, Derwin James will be in position to take it. But on this corner route, it's so close to the sideline, and this guy, he does have his back turned, but he's close enough to make a play on the ball. But I would consider, like maybe right here you could throw that and maybe make a play on it or maybe make a catch. But if I go ahead and actually, one thing I want to talk about before I snap the ball again is we've talked about the outside corner and the safety, but what's the responsibility of this flat zone and then this guy? Well, the flat zone, he's going to be looking for like any kind of short route going to the flats. He's going to take the first one to the flats. If there's a wheel route, that's his responsibility because usually wheel routes can hurt quarters coverage. So that's what he's looking for. And then this guy, if he's not being usered, what he's going to do is he's going to cushion the number 3, which means he's going to, like if A is he's on a post right now. If he's on a vertical route of any kind, he's going to run with him up here and then hopefully pass him off to a safety. But in this case, he can't do that. He actually has to match the number 3 and run with him. But what you're going to see is I'm going to snap the ball. And you're going to see that if we don't get shedded, the number 3 or the 3 rec does not actually match him. He'll actually play like a temporary match, and then he comes back to the middle of the field for God knows what reason. There's nothing coming. That should be his responsibility to run with the whole way. If he runs with that the whole way, there's nothing really open. You could argue that the corner route from Hunter Renfrow is open, but I mean, I really wouldn't be comfortable making that throw. Maybe if the ball was, on the boundary and they had more field, then they could make that throw. But, I mean, the 3 rec just does his job here. Now, that can be a user defender. I would say most user defenders are going to take the 3 rec, and they're probably going to user this. But I just wanted to show you what everybody's responsibility is. I don't need to explain this side of the field because it's all the same. What's going to happen, since this is a smash concept, you're going to see a better play here by the outside cornerback and the safety. This safety, this is a linebacker. Yeah, this is a linebacker. I have a safety subbed in, Jalen Watkins. He's going to look for the first thing to the flats. He's going to see it's the hitch. That's his. And then this is exactly what we want from our cornerback and our safety. They're going to be looking at number 2, and they're going to double team him. I know it looks like our cornerback is glitching out, but he's not. It's just the ball was thrown, so that's when he actually gets out of there. But they do double team properly. That's what we want to see. Okay? So that's cover 4 quarters. If you guys have any questions, like I said, about a certain route combo or maybe even how to attack cover 4 quarters, let me know on Discord. If you're an elite member, you can just DM me on there. Or if you're not an elite member, just go ahead and Twitter DM me at Ace Madden Tips. Okay? So that's cover 4 quarters. That's their responsibilities. I'm going to have all of this in the notation below because I know you guys are going to be watching this and some of you might think it's really confusing. But if you read the notation, things should make more sense to you. I know sometimes I ramble. Sometimes I don't make sense. So maybe if you guys just read it, it'll make a little bit more sense for you. So that's cover 4 quarters. Let's talk about cover 4 palms. Okay, so we're going to be in the same play here. I've just audibled to cover 4 palms. And we have a little bit different responsibility here. What we have is, since we have a 3x2 set, we have trips on the right. What's going to happen is every single time Casey Hayward is going to man up on B, our number 1. The reason that's going to happen, no matter if he goes short, if he goes shallow, goes across, goes deep, he's going to man up on the number 1. The reason we do that, or the reason that Palms does that, is so that our safety and our nickel can play 2-read in tandem. So we basically erase B, and now we have A and RB. So RB is technically our new number 1. A is our new number 2. So just think about it like if RB goes vertical, King has him. So in this case, we know RB is going vertical. He's going on a route that's past 7 yards. King is going to take him. At that point, we have our safety. He's going to be taking the number 2. So let's go ahead and put these guys on spy so we have time to look at it. You can see that Everything works as it should. Go to instant replay. You're going to see he's manned up. I can put him on whatever route I want. He is going to be erased. So now we have 2-on-2. We have Renfro going on a vertical route. King gets beat initially because it's really bad coverage by King. He ends up recovering, which, I mean, in real life, if he had this kind of separation, I mean, it's already over. Meanwhile, as you can see, unlike quarters, what happens is the 3-rec does a great job at cushioning him or walling him off and taking him to the safety, and the safety can, at that point, match him the rest of the way. So at this point, I mean, that's kind of open. You could probably throw that, even on Derwin. But as you can see, we do have everybody accounted for. On this side of the field, it's basically the same thing. We have the quarter flat taking the hitch, and then we have the double team on the corner. So I would say the main difference is what you're seeing on the trips. You're seeing this guy take away the number 1, unlike quarters where he doesn't always take him on no matter what route he's on. So I'll show you, let's audible to Palms again. Put B on a drag. He should follow him the entire way. As you can see, he does. You can use that to your advantage on offense. You'll know that the way Palms works is he mans up, but he also has an indecisive man up. So what's going to happen is he has a little bit of hesitation. You see that little bit of hesitation? That's enough for you to get tons of separation. Trip sets are, to me, the best for attacking palms and quarters. And that's not just me saying that. That's something that football coaches have said. I've done research on this. They say trip sets give this the most trouble. We are going to talk about a version of cover 4, or I guess of quarters, that does help against trip sets and gives you a better chance to defend them. I do like using it in certain situations. I'm going to break that down in a second. But this is basically a very short breakdown of palms and quarters. And hopefully it made sense to you guys. But it's all a numbers thing. You're just going to basically 3-2-1, 1-2. That's all you have to do. And then know what your responsibility of your cornerback and your safety is. I wouldn't worry too much about your quarter flats. There are specific cases like against gun bunch where we have the ISO side and the running back in mans. So actually, let me just show you real quick. This will be pretty simple. We'll go to cover 4 quarters. So there's different rule sets where, for instance, they go to gun bunch, and then we'll go to verticals. So I wish I had the speed in route for my running back. We don't. So what I'm going to do is put him on an in. And then I'll leave X on his stock, I guess, go route. So what you're going to see here is no matter where the running back goes and no matter where the ISO goes, this guy's manned up on Antonio Brown. This guy's manned up on the running back. Okay? And you can see how he follows the running back. I'll put Antonio Brown on a different route. So I'm not so sure if this will work. I'll put him on a smoke screen. But he should be manned up. Exactly, he's manned up. So there are certain cases where you play quarters, and then the trip side will have, more of the standard quarters coverage, and then we'll have the lock or the man-to-man on each side. And then, for instance, if we have, so since they're in man-to-man, let's say we ran the go route, and then we ran the in route, And we technically don't have a flat zone on the left side of the field. So what if the offense just ran like what if they just ran something like this? A drag to the other side of the field. Well, should it get open? Well, the 3-rec should do a good job at stopping that. Let's see what he does. He doesn't do anything right here. But usually he's going to take him, because one thing I should mention is after a snap, the numbers of receivers do change. So once B crosses this point, he's the new number 3. He's the new number 3. The 3-rec should take him. I know he's the number 1 here, but at this point, he's the new number 3. Here's the number 1, and then here is the number 2. So that was one little example. One other thing I'll show you is I'll show you palms and a good way to kind of attack it. Just a little bonus. We'll do something like, wide receiver under. Then we'll go against palms. And since we have 2 read on the left side, what we can do is put X on a go route or a streak, and put Y on an in route. And what should happen is our outside cornerback should take the in route from Y. I know that sounds really weird, but the guy on top of Antonio Brown should take our in route. And then after that, he's going to have an up call, which means he's going to communicate with the safety. And the safety's responsibility is now Antonio Brown. So the way it's going to work, it's almost like a cover 2. So let's go ahead, snap. You can see what happens is we have the up call, but it's, I can't believe you didn't catch that. Now, if you don't know if it's quarters or palms, you can't really run this because the quarters will handle this properly. We can see he goes out. At this point, that is our cornerback's responsibility to jump. So almost think about it like cover 2. It's almost like he's in a soft squat, and then he sees, boom, guy's in a flat, he's mine. We now have the safety to take deep. But what the safety is not doing properly is he's not getting good enough depth. He's like still in almost like a flat foot read. And at this point, once the up call comes, like he's actually more shallow than the cornerback, so it makes no sense to have an up call. But that's just a little, little nugget to attack palms. So that's going to be it for cover 4 quarters and palms. I will show you a special, unique variation in just a second. So what we're going to do now is talk about cover 4 quarters, but a variation of it that teams will use in real life. So like a cover 4 lock is what many of them will call it. There's a variation against bunch, but we can't really do it in this game, unfortunately. So I'm going to show you the trips tight end version, or trips in general. We'll do PA counter go. And I've already mentioned before, the reason that trips gives quarters fits is because by nature, trips is not a balanced formation. It's almost like a 3-by-1. I know there's 3 on one side and 2 on the other, but it's really a 3-by-1. And quarters is balanced. So what teams will do in real life is they'll cheat the safety on the non-trip side to the middle of the field or to the other side. So that way, if there's a streak from B or something, which is a number 3 receiver, the 3-rec hook can actually carry the streak up and pass him to our single high middle third. So the way that'll work is we'll put Derwin James on a middle third, so double tap Y, and then we're going to do A, then left stick to the left. That's going to put him on an inside third. And then this is not necessarily what NFL teams will do, but this is what I like to do. Double tap Y, Y for our slot cornerback, man coverage, right stick up, and then we'll man him up on Y. After we do that, the last thing I want to do, actually, well, I have a couple more things I want to do. Double tap Y, LB, and then we'll put him on a curl flat. So like this. And then we'll man up. Now this is completely optional. I like to do it, but you don't have to. Is put this cornerback manned up on the tight end. So if let's say they motion B or Y over to the right side of the field, Hayward would be manned up on them and not the tight end. So we're basically taking away the number 1 on the non-trip side. After you do that, we're going to actually user the quarter flat. We're going to read to see if there's anything going to the flat from the running back. If there is, that's our responsibility. And then we also have to be ready for the deep crosser coming from B. So the 3 rec will take care of him, at least for a little bit, while we lurk the flats, and then we can drop back. So this is what it'll look like. Okay, he's not going to the flats. Go ahead and drop back. You see how the 3 rec handled that? So let's go ahead and go back. Instant replay. I looked for the running back. Is he going on a table route? Does he have a wheel? Does he have something? And the answer is no. He doesn't. He stays in the block. So I can immediately drop back. The 3 rec does an amazing job on his own of matching him at least temporarily and then passing him off to me. Left side of the field is just not an option. We have too much stuff going on over there. We have the man coverage on Y. We have the curl flat bracketing the speed out route. We have the deep quarter manning up on, or I guess it looks like he's not actually manning up. He's just playing his zone on X. And then we have the safety in the deep middle of the field. He's not really doing anything. But he is there in case, let's say, B runs a streak. So let's go ahead and do the same setup. So we'll do A on a middle third. And then we'll do man up. And then we'll do curl flat. And then we'll go ahead and let's leave the quarter on the other side of the field for now. And what I want to show you is, like, let's say B is on a streak. Well, what you're going to see is we should have the 3 rec doing a good job until a safety gets over. Now, here's the thing about Madden versus real life. This guy kind of takes his good old time getting to the other side of the field. So if you really want, you can move him to like about here. That'll help out a little bit more. So here we go. Throw it. And our safety, if you click on, that'll be a pick. I do like to move him personally because if someone's probably not going to be snap throwing that against the 3 rec. As you can see, the 3 rec gets really good depth. You could probably pass lead it to the outside. Yeah, you could definitely pass lead that to the outside. So what you could also do against somebody who's trying to abuse the seam against your cover 4 quarters is what you can do is man up the safety instead of curl flatting him. So you do something like man up, the number 3 with the safety, and then we'll do the middle third, and then anything coming from left to right should be handled by the 3 rec. The flats will be open. If it's like a hitch from X, X will be open immediately on a drag or a slant, but that's what you're giving up. In return, you don't really have to actually move this guy over. In fact, you could do something else with him if you wanted to, because there are certain plays in trip side end that can actually damage you from X. So, like, I think inside cross is one where a post could kill you. In that case, you could leave him on his inside third. But we'll go ahead and man up A. And then remember, what we're going to do is just look for RB going to the flats. Now, if they run that crosser, we don't have to be as worried about getting back and defending that. So let's go ahead and just run the crosser play. So you're going to see we now have the safety is on him the entire time. Last year you couldn't do that. The crosser would just completely toast him. So this was just a variation of cover 4 to handle trips. Mix it up with the double man and the one man and the curl flat. If you do the one man, the man up the slot, and the curl flat, make sure you move your safety over in case they want to, throw that streak against you. But we want that 3 rec to actually, we don't want to use the 3 rec because he does a good job on his own of taking away the number 3 receiver, at least for a short period of time. So that's going to be cover 4 lock, and let's move on.